the intro, Amy. And yeah, so I'm glad to be here. Good morning, everyone. We're going to dive into the Toplayer, where dialogs, popovers, and modals live. Thanks for me being here. Thanks for UTIS for hosting this great event. And let's get right started. I want to take you back a short while ago. All right. A short while ago, while the web was still a little bit more easier, the web was flat. And back in history, we just had some headings, paragraphs, links, buttons, tables, form elements. No dynamic, flashy content, overlaying stuff. Was an easier time back then. Today, the web can overlap, and sometimes it does so. So we have modals, dialogs, popovers, dynamic content popping into the screen. And this can get messy quickly. So I brought this video, browsing the web in 2021. It's already old, but I think it's still relevant. Let's watch it together and see if you notice some things. Yeah, so I'm going to pause right here at the peak overlay, I would say. So what did we see? We saw a couple of banners. Register banner, which is now gone all of a sudden. Of course, the cookie banner. A lot of ads, also ads popping up as videos. And this actually is a blog, so there was also some content in the middle. And then at the end, of course, the subscribe to my daily newsletter modal dialog popped in as well, completely blocking us from everything that we want to see. So they're definitely, and I think this is still relevant today. I will quickly try to close this thing popping up. All right. Yeah. So there are definitely ways not to implement overlaying content on the web. I will try to set you up for success today. I also brought this video. This is a short clip of interview by Lex Friedman. DHH is on, the creator of Ruby on Rails, and he talks about cookie banners.
The thing that really gets me about cookie banners too, it's not just the EU. It's the entire world. You can't hide from cookie banners anywhere on this planet. If you go to goddamn Mars on one of Elon's rockets and you try to access a web page, you'll still see a cookie banner. No one in the universe is safe from this nonsense.
Probably the interface on the rocket.
Slower. You'll have basically a 150-second ping time. So it'll take you 45 seconds just to get through the cookie banners from Mars.
Yeah. So this is also a nice one. Of course, the cookie banner is one of these UI features on the web that's of course hated, and it's a bit of an awful feature. Of course, it's needed because of EU legislation. It's about overlaying content, and it's irritating, and we're going to talk about how to do it the right way. And like I said, I'm going to try to set you up for success. My name is Tim Damen. I'm a front-end chapter lead for the ABN AMRO. ABN AMRO is a Dutch bank. I'm also accessibility lead there. I'm next to the other accessibility lead. So together we lead the web accessibility guilds. And we lead them for our internet banking applications, which are a lot. For example, you can, if you log in on our web portal, you can arrange a mortgage, insurance, savings, investments, transactions, payments, basically everything that we offer as a bank. And what is nice to mention as well, this picture was taken about a month ago, and we are holding here the successful WCAG 2.2 audit that we received. So, yeah, of course, we were really proud of that. Another EU legislation is, of course, the EU Accessibility Act coming up. You might have heard of it. And yeah, so I think we are well prepared. And of course, accessibility is always a continuous effort, as it should be. But yeah, personally really proud on this one. We've been working towards this for a couple of years now. I also host a podcast called Focus Trap. And it's about web accessibility and web development. I'm a husband and proud father of a daughter, and they're in the room right now, so that's very nice. And when I'm not behind the laptop, I'm also passionate about sports and outdoor adventures. This is me on top of the Zion Overlook Trail, overlooking the canyon. So we've been traveling through Utah for about 2 weeks now, and I must say I think you live in a very, very nice state. And I've never been here, so it was great. I visited all the national parks. Yeah, liked them all. I think Zion was really, really, really nice. Yeah, and to give some contrast, this is where I'm from, the Netherlands. Translates to the lower lands. We are pretty much below sea level for most of the country. So we have lots of water, lots of farmland as well, and lots of cows, and no mountains. So yeah, the contrast for me is it's always nice when I'm in a country with lots of mountains, then I really enjoy it. I also enjoy my own country, of course. But today we will focus on the what, the why, and the how of content that overlaps other content, especially looking at dialogs and popovers. Let's start with the first one, dialog. Dialog is an HTML element, and it's a native dialog element that can be used to create a modal dialog or a non-modal dialog. And it's currently supported in all major browsers. Firefox was the last one to implement it, 2002. Chrome was the first one, as you can see, already in 2014. Yeah, there's a lot of time in between. But back when it was implemented in Chrome, nobody was using it because it wasn't in all the major browsers. It also wasn't really accessible. By the time the other browsers implemented it, it also got transferred to the Toplayer, which we're also going to talk about today. And it also became, by then, it became more and more accessible option. And today, I would say it is definitely the preferred option for creating modal and non-modal dialogues. And I will share the slides, and I've added some great backgrounds into the accessibility journey of the dialogue by Scott O'Hara. I would definitely check it out if you have the time. And then the popover. So the popover is an HTML attribute. It's relatively new. It's an API in HTML that allows you to create popovers, tooltips, and other overlay content. And it's also supported in all major browsers. So it's fairly new. It was released in Firefox last year, April. And also the other browsers, it's relatively new. And accessibility was baked in from the start. So it's an accessible option for if you would like to implement popovers currently on the web. And it was proposed by the OpenUI group, which is a group within W3C. And I've brought some examples. Because I spoke about non-modal and modal dialogues, there's a difference. We're getting into the difference already a little bit. So this is I think a great example of a non-modal dialogue. It's on the bottom right, yeah, for you, bottom right. And this is a good example of a non-modal dialogue because it's not an urgent message, and it's not blocking me from browsing the website. It's just there as extra information for me to check out and asking me if I would like to sign up to this website. But I can still browse the website underneath it and check out my information that I would like to check out. And if I want to interact with the non-modal dialog, I can, but I don't have to. Then the popover. So, for example, in Teams, when you start a new meeting, you click on the new meeting button, then a popover pops up underneath the button you just clicked with some follow-up actions to actually start the meeting. And then we have a modal dialog and also a bonus popover. This is an example of a modal dialog because it's completely blocking the complete website, and I have to interact with it before I can continue what I would like to do. And I don't like this implementation of such a modal dialog because it's not an urgent message. I don't have to interact with this coupon code before I can continue on this website, I would say. I would make this a non-modal dialog if I have to, because this is not an urgent message. And of course, yeah, today we have the option to add stuff to the top layer, but stacking on the web prior to the top layer was done by using Z-index mainly. And I've got a video showing how that works. Some of you might have interacted with have implemented some kind of Z-index prior. I sure did. And what you might have noticed is that you also end up in a Z-index mess quite quickly. For example, if you have lots of different elements on the website and lots of elements that are positioned differently, for example, with absolute or sticky or in another way, and you try to implement Z-index on them, the position has effect on the Z-index, and if there are lots of elements which also have Z-index, then you might want to overrule them with a very high number, like 99999. I think some of you might have added these values. I sure did. And so you can end up in a mess quickly with Z-index. And the top layer is also here to solve this problem. So when adding stuff to the top layer, it's on top of the complete DOM. So you don't have to care about any of these Z-index values that you have on your website currently. Does anyone know the maximum Z-index value? So yeah, if you are in a Z-index mess, then you might add 999 or a very high number, for example. But does someone know the maximum value?
Doesn't it depend on the browser and what they have as a maximum integer?
You're getting into the right direction, I would say. Yeah. This is the maximum Z-index value. Can someone pronounce this number, maybe? No? Well, I brought some help, so if I click this number, it will be pronounced.
2,147,483,647.
This is the maximum Z-index value, so we will keep it at 2 billion, I would say. Why is this the maximum value? This is the maximum value because this is the largest number that can be stored in a 32-bit integer. And the more you know. So if you end up in a Z-index mess and you are putting in a very high Z-index number to overrule the other ones, if you reach this number, you're at the end. So then the only option you got is the top layer. The top layer, like I said, is a special place in the browser. It's completely above all of the main content, the main document. This is how it's visualized in Chrome DevTools. It's underneath the root HTML. If you have something in the top layer, then it's there. I think it was added about 2 years ago in Chrome DevTools. But the top layer was actually existing before that time as well, but it wasn't visualized. And another visualization to give a complete overview. So you have your main document with, for example, your schematic like footer, main, aside, header, nav. Then you have stuff that overlays the main document, like overlays, dropdowns, tooltips, notifications. These can be implemented, for example, with Z-index. And then above that, you have the top layer. It's a completely own layer on top of everything else. And that is where some dialogs go, all of the popovers go there, and request full screen. And I didn't introduce this yet, so request full screen, we all have used it, I guess, because this is the JavaScript API that's called upon when you try to maximize a YouTube video, for example. This request full screen JavaScript API will be called, and actually the YouTube video will be placed into the top layer and maximized. And because most of the time nothing is in the top layer, it's very easy to maximize it and to put it on top. And also this was the original reason the top layer was created. So back in 2007, some guy at Opera, Opera is still around, but he came up with this idea, and also the other major browsers started implementing it. So the top layer has been existing for a while, but it wasn't visualized for about 2 years ago in the DevTools. Let's deep dive into the dialog and to the popover. So what is a popover? It's an additional window that temporarily overlaps the main content of the web page. Dialogs typically contain information, task, or an action. And this is how you open a dialog. So if you add it to your HTML or to your template, you have two options on how to open it with JavaScript. One is show, the show method, and one is show modal. You might have guessed if you choose show modal, you open it as a dialog, the modal dialog, and then it will be added to the top layer. If you open it with show, then it won't be added to the top layer. This is mainly used to create non-modal dialogs. Some extra default features that you get when you use the dialog. You get a role type dialog added automatically. And this is important when you try to take care of accessibility, for example. So the role will be added to the accessibility tree. The accessibility tree will be used by assistive technology like VoiceOver and voice command. And so that way, these assistive technologies know what elements are on the HTML in the DOM. You have the option to open the dialog. So there's an open-close mechanism automatically for you. No JavaScript involved. And with the option, of course, to show as a modal or non-modal dialog. If you open it as a modal, then you also have the option to click on escape to close the dialog. And you have automatic focus trap, which I will show right now. So I have two examples. One is a non-modal dialog, one is a modal dialog. We use keyboard to navigate. I will open the non-modal dialog first. So this is kind of as the example I just showed in the picture. This is just asking us to take a survey. And what's good to notice is when I open this by clicking this button with enter, the first interactable element is automatically focused. This is also an extra default feature, which is nice for keyboard accessibility, for example, that the focus is taken to the first interactive element within the dialog, which is the close button. And there is no focus trap in this one because it's a non-modal dialog. Now the focus is shifting to one of these buttons down here. Yeah. So there's no focus trap. The focus can go out of the model. And when I open this modal dialog, and I think also this is a good implementation of a modal dialog, because this is a session extender. For example, at the ABN AMRO, we have a security rule that logged in users are not allowed to be logged in for more than 15 minutes if they do not interact. So after 15 minutes, this model will pop up, for example, with a timer. If the timer runs out, they're getting logged out. If they see this message and they interact with it by clicking stay logged in, then the session will be extended. And this is an urgent message. This is something that's happening currently, and this should be on top of everything else that's currently going on and should be interacted with before continuing doing something else. So this, I think, is a good implementation of a modal dialog. And what you also notice is a backdrop. So a backdrop blocking out the other stuff in the background. And of course, there is an, let's do this. Also, the first interactable element is focused, which is nice. And we have a focus trap. So the focus is trapped within the context of the model, which is also a default feature of the dialog. The focus is going to the URL, to the first interactive element, and then to the second one, and then back in a loop. So we notice the backdrop. Backdrop is also, you get also this as a free bonus when you use the dialog in the top layer, because the top layer, dialog in the top layer has this pseudo element called backdrop, which you can style with CSS to add a backdrop yourself or change it to whatever you'd like. Now looking into the popover, newer element or newer attribute, I have to say, within the browsers. It's a floating overlay that provides information or action when triggered appearing above the main content without blocking the complete user flow. And some guy named Damen says a popover should pop, so it pops. So it pops up, and it pops up, I think, in my opinion, it should pop up close to where an action is taken, so close to a button that's clicked or a link that's hovered, or, for example, a form element hint that you might give to a user, for example. Popover attribute that can be applied to any element. So the popover can be applied to any element in your HTML, for example, on a div, but also on a dialog. Why would you do this? Because the popover does not have a role, and it adapts the role of the element it's applied to. So if you apply the popover to a dialog, then it will get the role dialog as well, which you might utilize somehow. Depending on the popover type, the default is auto. It will add, for example, light is miss, keyboard behavior like closing with escape as well. All the popovers are added to the top layer, and usually other popovers are closed when another one is opened. That's the case, for example, when you use the auto default. Then an implementation, so we have a button and a div. And we add to the button, we add a popover target, which connects to the ID of the div, and the popover target action show, and a popover attribute on the div. And if I now open it, this is a button, so I can click enter. Then the popover is added. I will close it with escape. Yeah, works. And what's also nice is that because this new popover context is added to the screen, it's added to the top layer. What is nice is that it's automatically taken care of. Also some keyword accessibility features like this one. So the next interactable element now is, of course, the one in the popover. So I've added a link in the popover, and this is added to the focus order in the right way. So that's also a nice default feature that you get for free. So when I hit tab and switch back to the button, for example, you can see that the link is being focused. And of course, you can also open a popover with JavaScript. So this is the normal button I just showed. And when I click on this button, it's opened with JavaScript by using the show popover method. And what you might have noticed is that the popover is perfectly centered in the middle when it's opened. And this is not by this is as intended by the developers who implemented the popover. But to me, this is a little strange because, like I said, yeah, most of the time when I open a popover or an overlay or implemented with popover, then I would like it to be close to the element that opened the popover. It's also perfectly centered because actually centering on the web is actually quite simple. When there are no elements surrounding your element, you can just add margin auto and it will be centered perfectly. So I think the popover still has some flaws, some positioning flaws, and of course you can you have some options to change this. But positioning the popover is quite a problem because it's in the top layer, and the top layer is not directly. You can't easily connect it to elements that are not in the top layer. You can use, for example, JS libraries like floating UI to solve this problem, or use CSS Anchor. But CSS Anchor is not supported in all browsers yet. So Anchor is a really nice feature coming up in CSS, which I have a demo of as well. So this is almost the same implementation I just showed, but CSS Anchor is added. So there's an anchor name, there's an anchor position, and there's some position try as well. So what Anchor can also do in the future is that if there's no space anymore, for example, now when I open it, it's at the bottom, because that's the default position. But when there's no space anymore at the bottom, it will automatically search for space and flip it, for example, now. That's what the position try is for. Flip it to the top, for example, if there's space available. So this can in the future all be done by CSS, which is quite remarkable. This was something that we did with JavaScript before. So this is something I'm waiting for to fully implement, I think, lots of my popover ideas. And to summarize, I brought a comparison. So we have the non-modal dialog first, popover in the middle, and the modal dialog at the end. And some differences. So the non-modal dialog and the modal dialog, they have explicit dismiss. That's, for example, you need to click the close button, or you need to close it with JavaScript. That is for the modals. For popover, it's light dismiss. So if you click next to it, or if you open a new popover, it will be dismissed. That's light dismiss. The non-modal dialog is layered with z-index. The popovers are all added to the top layer. And when you open a dialog with show modal, it is also added to the top layer. With also, of course, the backdrop pseudo element added. That's not something you get with the non-modal dialog. You also get it with the popover, but I would say if you add backdrop to a popover, you might need to consider adding this feature in a modal dialog, because then I would say it's a modal dialog. But you can do it if you want. And keyword existence. I tried to show this. For example, for the popover, the next interruptible element, if there is any, is in the popover. It's added in the right order. Same goes for the non-modal dialog. Keyword assistance is there that the first interruptible element is focused directly when you open the modal, the dialog. And for the modal dialog, you get keyword existence and also focus trap by default. So yeah, please consider this when you try to implement these features in your design system, for example, or in your projects. And that was it. I've also added some summary history. We can quickly go through. I think we still have some time. This was more of a bonus slide. So actually, z-index is quite old. It's added in 1998, also the year I was born in. And this is for a long time how we've layered the web. Then the z-index clashes. It says z-index clashes begin, so z-index high values, for example. Also talked about this in one of my slides. Then the origin of the top layer, quickly mentioned this. So someone at Opera started looking into full screen video, and then during the time that followed, all the browsers actually implemented their own method. So there was a time when Safari, Firefox, and Internet Explorer had their own methods for full screen API. But eventually they all switched to this one, request full screen, that was implemented by Chrome directly. The dialog element in 2014 by Chrome, nobody was really using it because it wasn't accessible, and all the other browsers didn't directly add it. Dialog in the top layer, also briefly mentioned this. You can add dialogs in the top layer by using it with show modal. The Open UI group, which developed and designed the Popover API. End of 2002 was implemented, and then Chrome shipped it in early 2023. Also, Safari followed. Then today, actually, Toplayer is mainstream, also added in the Chrome DevTools. And that was it. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Tim Damen, for that great talk. We'll invite our next speaker to come down and do a time check, and we'll be starting in just over 4 minutes, our next talk. Thank you.